Hello, intrepid viewers. Welcome to any new viewers. I'm Lena Rodriguez. I'm a sociologist and tarot card reader, and it would appear political commentator. I love this role. So today, so much as always to cover, but I thought I'd start with the cyber attack on the gas line that's affecting the whole of the East Coast. Then I want to have a look at the City of Columbus ruling by the federal judge. That is big. And then I'll move on to Ivanka and her awful brothers. Okay, so that's how it'll run. So let's start. This is my new camera, so you get me wrinkles and all. Okay, so the pipeline, 5,500 miles of pipeline have been impacted. So is it, you know, some maladjusted teenager in their bedroom basement or something? Or is it, you know, a bigger fish than that? Let's have a look at what's behind the hacking of the pipeline. So it's been a threat for decades, you know, water, electricity and gas lines, because we're all such energy pigs in first world countries. You know, we freak out and our lives grind to a halt if we can't, you know, guzzle up the fossil fuels at a great rate. So let's see, the cyber attack. Who was behind it? What's it about? Who's behind it? What's it about? Okay. All right, we'll have a look. Yeah, okay. It's part of a bigger strategy. I wonder. All right, it's a funny spread, I have to say. So what I think, putting the story together, this is the Five of Cups. You know, 3 of the cups are knocked over, 2 are still standing. I think this is someone with a grudge. Yeah, there's someone with a grudge who previously walked away from a position of importance on some level. That might be in their own head. But they left somewhere. Might be an ex-employee. We'll go a bit further. It might be bigger than that. But it is part of a bigger strategy. So before I go any further, I'd like to say, is it part of a bigger strategy by a person, or is it part of a bigger story, i.e. not an individual, like could it be Russia or whatever? So I'm going to come back and do a clarifier on this. It's thrown everything, you know, thrown everything into not so much a panic as a freeze. You know, there's a paralysis of trying to get it back online and trying to work out who is responsible and what to do about it. There's the young card here, which makes me think that at the end of the day, it was one young person who actually did the technical hacking. But who did they do it for and why? I'm still not clear about. They may have asked for a ransom. They call it ransomware. Maybe there was a ransom. And this is the offer they didn't want, or the response that they didn't want, which was, no, we're not paying a ransom. I think behind the scenes, we may hear about it in the future, or we might never hear about it. I think it was attached to something, attached to some sort of threat or request. So this Whereas part of a bigger strategy is what I'm curious about. So I'm going to move to my little oracle cards. Oh, my hair keeps doing weird things. There must be negative ions in the air or positive ions or some sort of ions that make your hair go crazy. Anyway, frankly, I'm too old to be worried. Hopefully you're not bothered. Okay, there are bigger things than what's happening with my hair. Okay, so what's behind the strategy? I want to know more about this. I think that just gave us the basics. What's really going on here? Whoops, what flew out? Oh, the White House. The White House. Oh, God. Oh, and the love affair with the White House and a letter. There was definitely a ransom attached to this or a threat. I think it is Russia, or at least a Putin-driven attempt. The love affair with the White House is over. Not that Putin ever loved Trump. He had met him, so he knew he was a chronic, inarticulate imbecile. There was no mystery there. But this is the man who had control of the White House, so that kept Putin's interest. That's over. And now this, I think, is a threat to the Dems generally and Biden generally. We're not going to interfere in the elections anymore. We're going to do other things. I think there was some sort of message. And at the end of the day, because cyber hacking is so cheap compared with going into a conventional war that costs hundreds of millions of dollars and euros and pounds, you can pay a Romanian hacker, you know what, 50,000 euros. And I think it was a young person who actually did the technical deed. Oh, I just heard they want more money. That's where the money comes in. Russia's not doing it for the money, it's doing it for the destabilization. The person who did the hacking, seeing the effect, isn't happy with being paid a pittance. That's how I see it. Could be wrong. So let's see, I want to now cover this lawsuit. Now, the federal judge has given an 88-page ruling on this. And just one of the stories was an older woman who lost her daughter in the crowd and the melee, and she went to a policeman and said, please, I've lost my daughter. Can you help? And he turned around and sprayed her 3 times in the face with tear gas, kicked her to the ground, and then stamped on her knee, which will probably be an ongoing injury, and called her the B word for protesting. These are not police. These are thugs in uniform. Can we please start making the distinction? You know, what is wrong with their training? You know, it's appalling. It's absolutely appalling. And this lawsuit has recommended the outlawing of tear gas, pepper spray, batons, and rubber bullets. Now, someone like an old lefty like myself, who's been in countless demonstrations over the years in many countries, and I've experienced the mounted police and the batons and the tear gas, and in one occasion the rubber bullets, not directed directly at me. It was, 100 people between me and those who were shot with rubber bullets. But nonetheless, it was scary to even be remotely in the vicinity. Rubber bullets sound like the soft option, but they're not. They're high impact missiles. And so if one hit you in the heart, it's quite likely to kill you. But it's not like paintball or something. It's far more serious. So rubber bullets should not be used to subdue peaceful protesters. And yet, it seems you can just kick in the doors of Congress and threaten everyone in it, and that's all right, but don't peacefully protest. The two Americas are becoming very obvious, at least to the rest of the world. I hope it's becoming obvious to Americans. So what I want to know is, will this lawsuit lead to others that are similar, or will it be appealed and shouted down, or the reaction to the lawsuit? I'm not interested straight up, because obviously Fox News will go on, you know, that we just want chaos and stuff in the streets. And I'm not talking about that sort of split. I'm talking about in the minds of middle America, has seeing what happened last summer been enough to move middle America? Will they support this ruling? I'm not interested in the right. I want to know about middle America. Will middle America think this is okay? Support this? Middle America. Middle America. What have we got? Oh, my star for the USA has come out. This is the best of what the USA meant, the dream, the American dream. Unlike the American nightmare, which is how most people experience it in these times of stress if you're not white. Okay, so this is the best of. People are evaluating it, which I'm pleased. It's about time. It's like 200 years overdue, but you've got to start somewhere. So that's awesome. So there's a reappraisal of what the American dream is about. Until now, and by now I mean since Black Lives Matter and this most recent incarnation of protest, there was a naivety about what really went on in America. And there was certainly a lot of naivety about the American dream itself. All right. But this is the nostalgia card back in the day when everything was, you know, bonanza and leave it to Beaver. I think those people are beginning to realise that it's not quite as they thought, and truth will come through, and the evidence is now there on camera. So when it's just a conversation, people can stay back in I Love Lucy land, right? And they can ignore it indefinitely. But now there's cameras, they're forced to confront it. And I think they will. So in other words, I think there will be some momentum behind this ruling that will gather a pace. Like I said, the shock jocks and everyone else will carry on like it's the end of the world, but their opinions don't get oxygen on this channel. Okay, so do you see there's now a thing called Foxitis? Well, you know, really, please. You watch too much Fox News and you actually get clinically deranged. Yeah. We could have told them that 3 years ago. Okay, so let's hope that more judges uphold that, because America's so strange. To the rest of the world, we're not used to seeing a country as large as America not having a real national position on things. Right, everything's state-based, all the gun laws. That's why you can't change anything, is because you've got to do it 50 times. I mean, what is that? What is the federal government for? I mean, don't start me. All right, Liz Cheney, I think the sooner they vote her out, the better, because she'll be off the chain. I can't wait. It'll be fabulous. So she's in it for the long haul. I think she has every intention of waiting to be asked to be the head of the new reinvented Republican Party, or maybe they should hold on to the name and make the Trumpists say we're the Mar-a-Lago Party. I think they should do that. Sue them and say, okay, you want to follow Trump, you're the Mar-a-Lago Party. You heard it here first. Why not? Everything else is so stupid, obscene, and ridiculous. Why not the Mar-a-Lago party? It's a winning idea. So now, the demon spawn of the Yeti. Haven't looked at them for ages. So will we do them in birth order? That'd be fine, except I don't know what the birth order is. So what I'll do is I'll do the boys first and then Ivanka. So Don Jr., then Frodo, and then Ivanka. Okay. Don Jr. Don Jr. And I've said for many months now, as soon as he gets subpoenaed or indicted or charged or anything, he's going to be off to rehab so fast his head will spin. Oh, okay. Don Jr. Don Jr. Don Jr. All right, now, well, yeah, there's not a lot going on here. I suspect that's because not a lot is going on actually in Don Jr.'s immediate world. I don't think he thinks any further than when to get the next recreational boost, shall we say. The hermit. And although he sprattles forth on occasion, he hasn't been doing the interviews and stuff that he was doing. He has gone into relative hermetism. Is that a word? Right, so he's not in the limelight now. Giuliani's son's taking up that role. Giuliani's going to roll over. He's going to sing like a canary on steroids. But that's another story. Now, he gets the princess. This is the weirdest card. I haven't looked at it properly for years, you know. He's much more emotional than you think. He's much more vulnerable than he appears to. I think this is a result, let's just say, of many decades of a particular way of living his life, lifestyle issues, let's say. What happens with people is they reach a critical mass and then they start to like regress. I think if you're close to him, he's like a 14 or 15-year-old. He's really awash with emotion because he's scared of his father. Eric, I think, isn't so much scared. He's a bit daunted by his father. Ivanka isn't scared of him. But Don Jr. is, because so much fell on him. And I think it's all coming home to roost because now his father's in a perpetual bad mood, threatening everybody and everything. There's a scared young thing in that card. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt here. But there's going to be a moment of illumination that's going to focus his attention very smartly, and that is when the legal sword comes through his front door. I think he could either be next or very close to next cab off the rank, and it's going to come into this world. So he's retreated, he's in this emotional, almost childlike state. He's not mentally well. He is not a well man. And then he gets the Seven of Swords. In this deck, it's futility. No point struggling anymore. He's actually burnt out. And I think he's going to just cave in quite quickly once it comes through. So that's him. He's much more vulnerable than I thought. I mean, personally vulnerable. I think he's freaked out with the legal stuff, but he's never grown up anyway. So he has nowhere to put this, no way of understanding it. People aren't returning his calls any more than they're returning Dad's calls. He's feeling really isolated and he's freaked out. Let's have a look at Frodo. Eric Trump. What's the story for you, Eric? Eric Trump. Yeah. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, gets the same card as his brother. Look, I'm just going to tell you what they are and you can work it out for yourself, right? It starts with the card of failure, complete failure. He's always had a fear of failure. Now it's just there. So, at his door very soon. This is the card of sorrow, followed by the card of strife. They are really in big trouble. The difference is with his brother, Don Jr. is so self-obsessed now that he's not even worried anymore about the legals every day and every night. Eric's more worried because he's still actually got a foot in reality. Don Jr.'s only worried about himself. I wonder where he got that from. Eric's actually smart enough to be really worried. I mean, look at those cards. Failure, sorrow, and strife. Who'd be a trumpet? Well, let's look at their hypocritical, shallow, absolutely ghastly sister. Let's look at what's happening for Ivanka. Ivanka Trump. Done so much for them. So much for them. She understands what it's like to be a working mum. She does. You know, even though she has the au pairs and the tutors and the drivers and the domestic servants, you know, and the pool cleaners. I'm sure she's very fond of the pool cleaners. She knows what it's like to be a working mum. I mean, it's a lot of work, isn't it? You know, having to send your labels to China while you're pretending to back America and running sweatshops, you know, in different countries. It's a lot of work. Poor Ivanka. Poor. What's happening for Ivanka? Okay, that's in the past. Well, she's at an end of a cycle. She's at the end of a big cycle. It's the end of her success. So this is the card of success and this is completion. End of success. She's still power hungry. She still thinks there's a way through this, right? Now, I'm sure she's kept her passport up to date and I wouldn't be surprised if she moves the whole family to Tel Aviv. I really wouldn't. She has a plan, but it's around power. She has no respect for her brothers. She doesn't even really have any respect for her father. She sees herself as the center of power in the family, and she probably is. That, of course, is if we leave out her mother, the mother of dragons, Ivana. But Ivanka now sees herself as the center of power for the dynasty. She's going to present, when she gets hauled in too, this is the card of virtue. Oh, it was me. I didn't know. I didn't know. I couldn't possibly have known because I'm a girl. So let's empower women. She's going to try this sort of nonsense and evade conviction. And short of pushing out another baby, has she even pushed out those 3? I bet she has surrogates. She might try and get pregnant to avoid jail, but that's going to be her first impulse. And then she's going to fight tooth and nail, right, to keep something going. She's trying to reinvent the Trump organization, like rename it or something and pretend it isn't them. She's going to go all out. So she's going to try the little giggling creature, which will fail within the first 2 hours. And then she's going to turn into this other entity and really go for it. She's going to, I think, sue and counter-sue everybody. She's going to go on the attack, is what I'm trying to say. I hadn't thought about it before. But we mustn't forget, with the 3 of Wands, that is also overseas. So equally, could be fight or flight, and maybe both. Start all these court cases as a distraction and then go overseas. Move into a chalet in Switzerland or something. Well, that's how I see them. And what else in other news? Oh, never thought I'd be quoting Hulk Hogan, pro wrestler Larry Hogan, describing the GOP as a circular firing squad. I think that's a cue. That's what they're doing with the Liz Cheney stuff and everything. They're just shooting each other in a circle. It's bizarre. But I wanted to share with you, there's a very good blog site. Anne Weber does blogs. She does all sorts of channeling with Gandhi and huge figures, Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, many characters, but also Richard Burton. And I'm going to leave the link to her site. The blogs are only short and I think worth a read. So I'll leave you with that, beloved and intrepid viewers. So get in touch if you want a reading. Oh, and the other thing that's happening, there's collaboration, the regular one coming up with Linda G, and that'll be on Celtic Sheila's Tarot. I can't talk today. Sheila Celtic Tarot. And then I'm doing another one with Johnny from Tarot's Apprentice and some other stars of this business. So thanks so much for watching and I'll see you soon. Ciao for now. Bye-bye.